Okay, hi, boys and girls. Weather report for March 11th, 2021. And I don't know. Why am I doing this? Why? Not a good idea, but we're going to go ahead and do it anyway. So we have John Peterson. We have Scott. We have Rational Empiricist. We have Nathan, hyena number 4. I don't know why you picked such a low spot. I think I'm going to promote you to 3. And TopDawg. Anyway. What's up, guys? We're going to go over a video. And we're not going to go over a video. We're going to summarize the debate, Andrew.
Yep.
That you had with SFT on his channel, which, well, we won't do that to you.
What? Won't do what?
I won't mention your slip. You know, that basically you fell back, you backslid into your addiction. I won't say that aloud.
All right.
I'm not going to say anything about you backsliding into your addictive patterns.
Actually, this is an intervention, Andrew.
Yes.
Oh boy, you tricked me, Speed.
I did. Okay, Scott, how's this affected you, Scott? What's his behavior?
It's crushed my heart. I thought we had him on the healthy path.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that the way he has affected me is that I feel really sorry.
Oh, I think somebody else is affecting you still. Anyway. Yeah. Yeah, well, Andrew, you crushed my hope for humanity. You destroyed my hope for the future of the human civilization. And I just want you to know, you broke my heart, man. Okay.
You broke my heart, Fredo.
Yeah. So, what the hell? So, what do you think overall of? We talked a little bit about before you went on, and then you went on, and some things happened. What was your overall impression of what happened during the talk?
Well, first, besides the SFT preaching and stuff, I think. Okay, so first we didn't talk much about Evo Devo, which I kind of wasn't too surprising because it was kind of a impromptu discussion, and I don't think I was specific enough with that, with what we wanted to talk about, so that's okay. And then we talked about nested hierarchies, of course, which we both agreed, thankfully, that we were gonna move on to another topic, basically, and if we are gonna do a future chat. But the overall impression I got was that I was bringing up these points, and one of the things that struck me was that he wasn't really answering my questions. For example, one of my favorite points in it was when I asked, okay, so we know how nested hierarchies are generated by genetic mechanisms, and we know, we don't know that same kind of thing with God, a common designer, and how he could have created this nested hierarchy. And so I brought that up to him, and I was like, okay, we have this mechanism in the evolutionist quote unquote side. Now for creationists, you need to do a similar thing, kind of bring the pitcher up to the ball, basically, and but he couldn't do that. And the best he could come up with was, why wouldn't we? Or sorry, my question to him was, okay, why would we expect this kind of pattern if creation were true? Not how it could be explained by God, because we know that God can explain anything just with the simple phrase "God did it"
Right.
at its base most level. So why should we expect this pattern? And the best he could come up with was, why wouldn't we expect this pattern? Like you shifted the burn of proof there, buddy. So that was kind of the funny thing that I found about that part of the talk, at least. But
I just have I have a question for you, for just from what you said now.
Okay.
You referenced a future discussion. So my question to you is are you masochistic?
A what?
I
A
don't,
future
I don't know what that means. Sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
Can
basically,
you define that term?
well, right. Yeah, masochistic means that you like pain.
Oh, if we're talking about that kind of pain, I guess maybe.
No, he loves this. He absolutely loves.
Yeah.
This happened when? When did this happen? A few days ago.
Tuesday night.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, like, what were your? Because I know you were watching Speed. So, like, what did you have any overall thoughts?
Oh yes, I do. I'm just trying to find the right screen. Okay, so what I'm showing on the screen, orphan gene from the Wikipedia, right? Why is he bringing that up? When I thought you were clear in the opening that you were going to talk about Evo Devo and basically development. And then you talked for 8 minutes and he talked for 15 minutes. And then you talked for 5 seconds and he talked for another, I think 5 or 10 minutes. And then, so did you notice that you did a lot less talking?
I guess when I'm talking to people like these, I guess I maybe have to keep that in mind, I think.
Yeah.
So I probably can do better at that.
Yep. So he went off topic and he went off into his usual, to use a phrase from Lil Peepee, talking points, his points. And I noticed he was showing he's got his slideshow up here, and we're at like 87 or 89 here, and I'm pretty sure he's got about 1,000 of them, and this is what he pulls up, and it's the same shit he pulls up every time. So I mean, this is just, and then he went further and further. First of all, he went into the nested hierarchies. Then he started talking about automobiles. And the dude loves fucking automobiles. And then he went off into orphan genes, and he listed a bunch of other little points like gene conversion, whatever.
Well, like sorry to interrupt, but like one of the things, like the most we got with Evo Devo basically was, okay, I brought up, okay, we see these vestiges. Now, obviously, he's gonna go against that term, but like we see these vestiges in the genes, in the morphology, basically, of whales, for instance. Like whales, we know that they develop their teeth before they develop baleen, but before the baleen is fully developed, basically the teeth kind of start developing and then they go back into the gum socket, I think is what happens. So like I was asking him, okay, why does that happen in a creation model? Because like that clearly shows that whales once had teeth of some sort. But the best answer he could come up with was this genetic entropy or breaking down over time. And like that doesn't explain why whales used to have teeth.
Yeah. And he goes off on the vestigial, all the vestigial things that they had, like 100 and some years ago. And then we found function for a lot of that stuff. And then he goes off and starts talking about pseudogenes. So, okay, like he said, right, these apparent vestigial organs or vestiges that we see in these developmental stages. Let's say when it comes to the whales, like you were talking about, what we would expect to be part of the overall design, the overall bigger picture, and also be part of those developmental stages leading to the end product, because they have essentially the evolutionary community has taken the vestigial organ argument, where hundreds of years ago, they think they had this list of between 150 and 200, and then he goes off on vestigial organs, right? So he kind of like that's how he dealt with your talk about the whales. He kind of suggested that you needed to do that for part of the overall design, that we needed to go through these stages, right, in order to get what. I mean, right. I'm not that familiar with the development of whale.
Well, like I also mentioned like snakes and how they form these little limb buds and then they reform back into the main body cavity. Like why? Same thing there. Why? This clearly shows that snakes used to have some kind of a leg structure, but they don't anymore. So that's like, obviously they're going to say, oh, it's loss of information, it's not evolution. But going besides that, like it's clearly evolution, because it clearly changed. Like, I don't know.
Well, and the thing is like, and then with something like that, then if you know, YECs or just plain creationists want to give credit to God, then the question is, well, then why would God have done that? Like, why would he have created a snake that started maybe to have legs and then change it to where it didn't have legs? And, you know, I mean, if he can, you know, if he's the perfect being and all powerful and he just, you know, says something and it comes into being, like, why would he do that? Like you said with snakes, or why would he do that with a number of other organisms that went through changes over millennia?
Right.
It's to teach.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, it's to teach humans lessons or something, right? Somehow.
Yeah. Well, exactly, John and TopDawg. It's like basically you can explain these patterns. Like you can explain anything if God did it. Like at least at a very silly level. But like they don't have any reason to expect this pattern, because of course they're not doing science.
Well, I don't know if this is the right word, but you know, you said, well, yeah, at the explanation, God did it. I mean, it's kind of a misnomer to call it explanation. I mean, it's an ersatz explanation, if you know what that word means. It's just like, it's like an explanation that's really not an explanation. It doesn't really explain anything.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, well, let's see. Okay, this is I think this is the part where I just read this transcript.
Vestigial organs or vestiges that we see in these developmental stages, let's say when it comes to the whales, like you were talking about, we would expect to be a part of the overall design, the overall bigger picture, and also to be a part of those developmental stages leading to the end product, because they have essentially, the evolutionary community has taken the vestigial organ argument, where hundreds of years ago, they...
Okay, you see what he did there? He was talking about his model. And so he was addressing the whale design, right? And he mentioned it for like one sentence. And then he switched over and started talking about, oh, the evolutionists. Did you notice? I just think that's significant.
Yeah.
The evolutionary community has taken the vestigial organ. So he's talking about his model for around 20 words, maybe 15 words. And then that's all he addressed your thing. And then he goes on to pick on vestigial organs in general rather than the specific example. That's why I would like him. I mean, it would be interesting to go out and do a little studying on whale development, the embryological development of whales. I'm not sure how much we know because they're very hard to study, right?
Yeah.
And ask him specifically to explain how that's part of the overall bigger picture.
Yeah, and he doesn't cite anything about evolutionists and doing something wrong. He he's just saying he could be just making it up. Maybe he has read a paper that or two that indicates this, but he hasn't shown it. And a debate is a place to show your work, not just make assertions and accusations.
And he doesn't know what vestigial means either. He thinks it has no function or something.
Right, that's not what it means.
Yeah.
It's in the word vestige. It's something indicative of the past. That's all it means.
Yep. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily.
Oh, sorry.
It doesn't necessarily say that there's absolutely no function left of the thing. It's
right. Well, you want to know what he said on that? That we were just switching the definitions. Like he actually said that like evolutionists have changed the definition of vestigial from useless and that kind of stuff to it was pretty silly.
Let me go on for just a second here. Listen.
Okay.
I think they had a list of between 150 to 200 so-called non-functional vestigial organs. Now you could maybe argue one or two. Okay, they've actually redefined what a vestigial organ is, and I've got some quotes and sources for that to show it if we got to go down that route. But what we now see in terms of these vestigial organs is function, is purpose. Okay, now they've redefined it and said, well, it's lost its original function, or maybe it's co-opted a new function. But this whole co-option's never been observed, especially observed in terms of like your functional pseudogenes or ERVs, ALUs. We can get it.
Okay, and then he goes off on pseudogenes, ERVs, and ALUs, and we can get into that later. That's a rabbit trail, but we would expect function and purpose, right? So you remember I said that he he'll do the gallop and then he'll throw out the bait, so I'm not sure what the bait is that's coming up here, but so that's a bit of his gallop.
I think that part, at least I didn't kind of push him on the Evo Devo stuff specifically, but then we got into nested hierarchies and stuff. So let's see if you want to find a good chunk of that.
Let's see.
Significant.
He goes on to talk about they oftentimes looked at the genetics of, let's say, whales, and they've assumed that what they were looking at, the specific genetic markers, and what he's talking about there, were actually vestigial genes, no purpose, no function. Okay, the leftovers of past common ancestors. Yeah, it's like, well, I don't know. Like, for instance, I think, what is it, the Kent Hovind's famous penis bone, the pelvis, that's required, whatever. So, I mean, if
in snakes, in pythons?
Whales,
yeah.
Like
15 feet.
Right, and basically, it's not surprising that the genitals would still have some hookup to the pelvis, even if the pelvis was now vestigial, which whales certainly do not need a pelvis, but it's, and those bones are still there and they're connected to the genitals, but because they still have something that they do, or they've been co-opted to do something else, that is exactly what evolution predicts. Right.
Right. Like a similar thing is with like ostriches, basically. Like the wing is vestigial. Like it still has some function because it can like show off, basically, like we see them doing that. But like it's a vestige of what it used to do, which is flying. It's not that hard to understand.
Yeah. And then he goes on and he goes off on this whole pseudogene thing, right?
Yeah.
Where he's talking about orphan genes and pseudogenes, and that was sort of the bait. So he does the gallop, and then he switches the topic, and then throws out some shit that you have to come up with another argument for. And I don't know. And then
I think at one point, like, he was talking about pseudogenes, and he asked me a question about it, and I didn't refuse to answer the question, but I said, okay, I don't know. Let's go back to this topic, because I that's not what I came here to or I didn't say this, but like that's not what I came here to discuss.
Okay, yeah, he says, what the hell is it? One gene, one protein, one function. What we now know is is that the general set of instructions are dynamic, they're nested, they're self-regulating, they're multidimensional. Would you agree with that? Would you agree with that? And then you said, yeah. I mean, it's pretty obvious. And then he goes on. Was that the point where he asked you?
Let's see. It was something about. Oh, did you find it?
No, I'm about at the end of where I stopped analyzing this morning. So.
Oh, okay.
Right at 38:54. So.
I don't know. Did you want to play a little bit of maybe the like the end quarter of it? Because like we can get into the pseudogene part some other time, but I kind of want to go over this whole thing about nested hierarchies.
Yeah, you mean the part I haven't looked at yet?
Yeah, it would. Is that like from the video you're sharing?
Okay, so do you have a timestamp for me?
Let's see.
I'm such a harsh taskmaster. I always ask you guys to give me timestamps. I'm a weenie. Oh, did I say that word? I'm sorry, I summoned Danny. Oh, fun. Oh, here. Oh, Danny's in the thing. Okay, wait a minute.
He is.
Oh, fuck, he's got comments.
He's making some quite interesting comments, for which I am thankful.
Yeah. And so his comment, Danny, Danny Leophilus, you should definitely tune in to, okay, that's something else. So Danny, okay, vestigial. Okay. Could only make sense in terms of
a timestamp.
Okay. Otherwise, what to differentiate a vestigial tissue from a non? No, a vestigial tissue would be when we find a remnant of something that we can make a case that it was something else in the past, in past lineages that had a bigger function. So that would be vestigial. So referring to like a tiny, tiny little limb on a snake, which does, may or may not have some function, but it's very, very small compared to its ancestors. And of course, we're doing, some inferences there, but okay. Now, how function is defined is a different story, but there's a sensible notion of it that doesn't imply telos. So yeah, function is just like what the thing does. I guess we can look at that in a number of different ways. So that's all he had to say.
This may be a dumb question, but what is telos?
Like teleological, like somebody had a plan. So basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And telos is a cool Greek way to say that, I guess.
All right, I got the document, so give me a few minutes to look for a timestamp.
Well, the Greeks didn't know English, so they didn't know of any cooler way to say it.
Yeah, it's about purpose, and telos, the Greek root that Danny used, I'm guessing, would tell us a little bit about this. So telos, Greek. I'm pretty sure that's Greek. Let's see, purpose or goal. So telos means purpose or goal. So interesting. That's pretty direct. So anyway, but there were some other interesting things before all of this in the very beginning of this document that we could address at a different time if you like, but we could also look at it now. Like he said some things that were interesting. He said when it comes to amino acid trees, and then he showed a tree. We'll get into that. Okay. So in the very beginning, after Andrew's opening, he said, it consists of countless assumptions, many of them not even justified by the empirical data that we have today. Now, that is a little packed sentence that SFT often does. So he's referring to, now the current research is supporting creationism. We all know it, and we can see it, right? And he keeps, that's one of his indoctrination points. He's trying to get you to believe that all the current research, like 2020, 2019, is showing that creation is true. And, okay, the other thing is his just assuming that we have countless assumptions, many of them not even justified by the empirical data. All of the things that we assume are justified by the empirical data. That's why we have the goddamn data. So all of these papers are built on the shoulders of giants before them. One paper is built on another. We have put this together very, very carefully and painstakingly. So what the hell is he talking about? And then he says that the novel layers of complexity and information control for development, he's talking about Evo Devo, raise more problems, raise more questions rather than more answers. Patently false, okay? One of Standing's big things is that we know nothing about embryology. We knew a lot about embryology in 1900.
Oh,
like
yeah.
120 years ago. I mean, these people did really, really careful microscopy on a couple of standard embryos and found out a whole bunch of stuff. And we know a ton about it, you know, from a molecular standpoint. So he's claiming that there's some problem with embryology. No, there isn't. Pretty well developed field. And then he says, and then he throws out homology, transition forms, nested hierarchical patterns, for example, and how they are agnostic to the debate because both models can explain the data. In other words, it's underdetermined. We can basically make up anything we want. Any kind of just story would cover it, right? Did you find
yeah, explaining something simple, compatibility is not not
sufficient?
Yeah, it's not sufficient. You that's why I kept asking him, why do we expect this? And I found the timestamp of the part I wanted to go over. It's around 53 minutes.
Okay.
If you want to start reviewing it from there, if that's okay.
53 minutes. Are you just galloping on me? Is that what you're doing? Are you galloping ahead?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, 52, 53. So, okay, so 52 would be, to get this number, I think it would be 5128. Okay, so you wanted to play? I'm at 52. Yeah. Okay.
Patterns in living organisms from the design starting point.
Right. I guess specifically I'm talking about, because we know that a designer could explain that, but what I'm looking for is why should we expect that, and namely, how do we generate that kind of pattern from that prediction, basically, is my question.
Well, why wouldn't we expect nested hierarchical patterns in the biological world based on the design hypothesis? I mean, is it really any surprise that we share more in, let's say, humans? Is it really any surprise that we share more in terms of morphology, anatomy, physiology, and genetics with a chimpanzee than we do with a fish or a bacteria? You know, of course, even if you were to just stand back, even before genomic sequencing, Andrew, you could just stand back and visually look at a chimpanzee and a human, and you would assume, wow, we probably share a lot in terms of the underlying system when it comes to genetics, whatever.
Okay, I'm going to foreskin that. So, no, the interesting thing is, okay, when you look at chimpanzees and you see that they share a lot with humans, how does that jive with the Bible, where humans are this exceptional chosen species that is entirely different than all other animals, and we have souls and they don't, and we are God's chosen beast, right? So why would he have designed us? Like if he designed a bunch of SUVs and military vehicles, and he had this one, say, one SUV, like a Ford or a Cadillac Escalade, right? That was us, right? Why in the hell would there be a Mercedes right down the street that doesn't have a soul? I don't know what Mercedes SUV model is, but I believe they have one. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and the other thing is like, if you see what he did there, basically he shifted it from why would we expect this to why wouldn't we expect this.
Right.
In other words, he's basically saying it's so obvious that my model doesn't have to make predictions on this.
Right.
So that means it's not testable.
Yeah. And then somewhere, is it him or is it somebody else that mentions the cytochrome C and all the differences between the cytochrome C and the mitochondria? Basically, there's more and more differences as you get further and further away from primates. We have one difference between us and the chimpanzee, one amino acid different, right? And if you go out to chickens, you're looking at 17, 18. If you go out to fish, you're up to around 70. But the cytochrome C does exactly the same thing. But then somewhere in here, he mentions that, we just don't know why God did that. God did that because there's some secret mechanism that we're just now discovering that, we're going to figure out that, that's really important.
Right. And as soon as he did that, he admitted, he's basically admitting that he doesn't have a model.
Right. Yes. And you could have asked him there, can you give me a paper showing me how cytochrome C differences have some different functions in all these animals? Can you show me empirical, observable evidence standing for truth? Because he likes to ask us for that, right?
Right.
When it comes to co-opting genes and things like that. So can he provide that paper, that shows us that, but the worst thing about that, as soon as I say that, there probably is some goddamn thing that actually changes based on those amino acids. We don't know about it yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if we found some odd little thing that, this actually makes it more efficient, for some functions, right?
Yeah.
Which would be additional information. So then I would come back at him and say, aha. So mutations can be beneficial, right? If he points that out, right? So I mean, it's just mind bending. But what I just said, these slight mutations, right? That they're showing, this the 40 genome and all of these RNAs that transcribe backwards, and there's RNAs in the middle of introns and exons that transcribe, and they have some function. All these little things, right? Those are all evidence for evolution, and he uses them as evidence for design, just slickly and just without even breaking a sweat. He turns that around and says, it's so complicated.
Well, that like I said before, simple compatibility is not sufficient, and they don't understand that.
Yeah.
Because think of it this way, and for anyone in the audience out there, if nested hierarchies didn't exist, evolution and common descent would probably be falsified, because
yes,
you have to have nested hierarchies for common descent. It's just, we know that's what is necessary. Whereas if there weren't any nested hierarchies, creationists would go around and say, oh, look, it's just what we expected. So that's kind of the key point. It has to be testable in order for it to be a scientific model. And since they're not testing it, then yeah.
Then he talks about automobiles and, all automobiles have an engine. So they all have a cytochrome C, right? And it's like all automobiles have spark plugs. So that's, like some other little gene. But the reason that all automobiles have those is because there are certain manufacturers that manufacture spark plugs that are not General Motors and not Ford Motor Company and, not the other motor companies, right? There's availability of parts. And that's why we have gas engines and everything still, right? We've just now been forced to change the paradigm. Detroit would have never changed away from gasoline engines without tremendous pressure, because it is supply chain economics. It has nothing to do with design. They didn't sit down and say, we're we're going to take this Ford vehicle and we're going to modify it a little bit and make it a Chevy. That's not what they did. They would have come up with something brand new and better if they had been forced to, or if they weren't constrained to supply side economics, right? And then when you look at, like, that's why I want somebody to do a Brahmanology study on vehicles, because I think what you'll come up with is that all vehicles are almost identical, except for, it'd be a difference between military vehicles and domestic vehicles, right? But they're going to be almost identical right up to like 80% of the stuff. They all have seats, steering wheels, shifters, parking signals, all of that, right? But they're going to have slightly different curves, and that's about it. So it would be like all of us would be like, say, octopus. That's not a good example. Or we'd all be like wolves, except some of us would be more like chihuahuas and some like bulldogs, and that would be all the life on Earth. So why?
Yeah, and that kind of segues into the last thing I wanted to comment on before, because I've been talking too much, so I want to let someone else talk after this. But
No, you have not been talking too much.
I haven't.
No, you have to keep talking.
Oh, okay. I can do that. Basically, there was another point that I mentioned to him, which was okay. So I think this was after we talked about nested hierarchies, which was why are they matching each other so well? And I used this term to statistical significance, and he asked me to define it. And so I was basically defining it as, okay, you in phylogenetics, you start with all these possible trees. Now, of course, there are certain methods where you're not looking at all possible trees because that's just going to take too much freaking time. But like, even so, you have many, many, many possible trees, different connections between extant species for like even a few dozen taxa. And that means that it's highly statistically significant when out of all those you get a set of just a few that matches that and is consistent with the data most of the time. Like, this is your consensus trees basically. So like, why do we see that in a common? Well, of course we see that because of common descent, because there's only one unique genealogy for all life essentially. But why do we see that if common design were true? They the only thing they can say is, oh, well, they're not statistically significant, or some ridiculous claim like that.
Okay, a little bit of a diversion here for side chat. What the hell is he talking about, Evotard? Calling out the attempt to rewrite the etymology by Andrew at Speed. Etymology of what?
I think he was talking about vestigial stuff.
Okay, so what is the etymology of vestigial?
Also, I would point out definitions change. That's just how science works.
Okay, well, we're gonna have to answer the challenge here. But okay, so it looks like what God did is he drew some octopuses and some jellyfish and some protozoans, and he drew all that stuff, and then he drew a fish. And then he just went fucking crazy and come up with like a 50,000 different fish shapes, right? And then at some point he said, "Oh, it'd be cool if we have land animals." So he drew, legs on them, right? So he put legs on them, and now so we had something that kind of looked like a fish, but it was like we had a ticked out and it was crawling up on the land. And they thought, okay, well, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna divide it into like two lineages, right? And he starts modifying a little bit more, and he takes one of the lineages and he comes up with the dinosaurs, and then he does a little offshoot and says, okay, we're gonna do hairy things, and he does all these different hairy. But do you see how God started out at the base of the tree?
Oh yeah, it's
odd.
Yeah. I mean, and that was kind of one other thing was like, when he brought up the cars, he brought up transitional forms, and oh look, it's blending the two traits. That's not what transitional means.
Right.
Like transitional forms show evolution. They don't show crocoducts. Like we don't expect to see crocoducts. So why are you going to use this analogy of land vehicles and water vehicles and how it blends the traits between the two?
Yeah. It's almost like he was sort of doodling and getting ideas from his last doodle to go to his next doodle, almost exactly like the damn thing evolved.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
it was like evolving in his mind, right? So how are we going to argue against that? Well, yeah, okay. Of course, we'd expect it to be evolution because God was doodling and that's how he thought it out, right? So, I mean, but I thought God was timeless and I thought he saw everything all at once and just came up with, whatever. So, okay. So the word vestigial means functionless remnant, okay? The word vestige means a remnant of something, rare or extinct. So a remnant. So something smaller, vestige. Let's see where the hell it comes from. So what is the, I'm trying to find the word roots for it. Well, the shit site, that doesn't work. The etymology nerd, are you kidding me? You didn't tell me anything about it. Okay. Huh, hard to find. Hard to find. Vestigial, ever pertaining to in literature, okay, develop rudimentary wings in the news. Usage.
Also, medical definitions aren't going to be the same as evolutionary biology definitions. That's just common sense.
Here's typos, reverse dictionary. I'm trying to find word roots. What is the origin of the word?
I don't know.
I'm not finding it. So we're trying to redefine something, he says. Yeah, and also we are not obligated to follow some dictionary definition just because we use the word. They had a meaning by it. The origin and the meaning of the word vested. Give me some Greek. Give me some Latin. Give me something, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
No, give me anything. I don't know what's wrong with these people.
So
maybe it's a tough one.
Oh, so did anyone else have any thoughts on this? I don't want me and Speed to be the only ones talking.
Yeah.
Today.
Have some thoughts, dudes. What the hell? What am I paying you guys for? Crickets.
Our very cool choice of avatars.
Oh. Well, we're gonna have to renegotiate. Okay, vestigium means footprint. It's from the Latin vestigium. So that's where it comes from.
That kind of makes sense because a footprint is kind of left over from stepping on mud or something.
Right. Okay. So anyway, but none of that matters. We mean something by vestigial organ. And usually it means like diminutive or something that's, obviously those little legs on snakes don't do any walking anymore. Right? And those little legs on whales don't do any walking anymore.
Right. Like it's the same thing as saying this or X feature evolved to do Y function. We're not intending a goal or purpose on evolution. We're just saying X evolved because it was beneficial and it was more advantageous for doing Y function. But that's kind of more cumbersome to say, basically.
Okay. I'm going to yell at Leo now. So genetic fallacy, we don't need to make everything a fallacy or classify everything as a fallacy, right? When you look at the word root, when you look at the roots of a word, you very often get a really better sense of what the definition of the word is by looking at how it was previously used when you look at its history. And actually, there's an evolution of words that's very much like what we're talking about, the evolution of species.
Oh, yeah.
And you can tell something about the current species from its ancestors, right? Same with words. So, Leo, damn, bad boy.
I think he may have been talking to the other person in the chat.
He was. Well, no, I think he was. I'm not sure. I don't know. I haven't been following.
Yeah, I
chat,
don't know.
so I don't know what's going on. I'm just the host. I don't really have any control over what's happening here.
Should we, I guess, bring this video down and, I don't know, just have at it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll do a little more of this because there's more in here.
Yeah.
Well, let me see. Let's go back to the beginning where I have looked at it. And
Okay.
I saw some stuff like let's see. We need to look at those lines of evidence that can really only be true if the independent origins is true, or if, okay, so he's talking about the fact that, both models seem to match a lot of the data. And, the creation model has just recently come in line with the data. They're working on it. They're still working on it to match up with the data. Okay, so then he mentions incomplete lineage sorting, convergent evolution, loss of traits evolution. We can get into all that. I think I mentioned that already. And let's see. He injects a bit of genetic entropy. And
speed. There's a ghost in the chat.
There's a what?
There's a ghost in the chat.
Oh my God. It's fucking spooky. God, he snuck up on me. Gave me a start. Man's gonna be the death of me.
Anyway, what were you saying?
After he was done, he took a sip of his water. Like he went on and he always ends with, so go ahead. What are your thoughts, Andrew? And then he takes a sip of water and then he proceeds to look at chat and not listen to anything he said. And I was watching him, he may have been listening, with half of his ear like I do here, but it just seemed like he looked really smug. And I took a little screenshot of that. Okay, and then let's see what else we got here.
Oh, that was that image there. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Let's see, where the hell is it? Yeah, that was the image that I put in the text. Basically, the smug look. Anyway, okay, so we can just open it up here.
Yeah,
and
we can talk more about it later.
Yep. But I didn't really notice any science that he brought to the table at all.
Yeah, just assertions, basically. That's the. So I think, I don't know. How do you think I did overall? What can I do better next time, if there is a next time?
Well, first of all, how you did overall, you did really well. And what you could do better is what I told you. Make them focus on just one thing, one point. If you want to talk about fucking pseudogenes, talk about nothing else, and let us prepare to talk about pseudogenes. And the other thing is, don't let them gallop off topic. I guess that's it. So that's because that's what he did.
Usual creation stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, got Dick Gibbons in the chat. Cool.
Hi, Erica. Application window. Sure. And then I noticed in his, he had these two things. Okay. So I'm looking at Oda from 1973, 1992, 2002, Kimura, 79, 83, 95. He just flashed this up for a minute. And he does that to show, I have paper after paper. Then he has Lynch from 95, got a 2001 or 2006. And then he had this list, which is his guys, Sanford and Baumgartner, Gibson, Brewer, Walter, Rebine, that son of a bitch. He's kind of a brilliant son of a bitch, but he's still a son of a bitch. Dembski, Behe, just all his papers. And I thought that was interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
And here's Smug. This is, I don't know if I really caught it smug, but there was just a little smug glance, and it's just like, it's
Wait,
Stanley.
are those evolution books I see in his background?
Oh, were they? Yeah,
wait, pull it back up again. I saw like the March of Progress on one of the books there.
Hang on a second. It means actually reading books. Share. God, they make you go through too many steps to share a screen.
Yeah.
No, that's all his stuff. That's all his books behind him.
Oh,
They're
darn.
on little pedestal or little shelves. Huh.
Yeah, he's got a little shelf. Those are his bookshelves. He's got his books both standing up and laying down because they give him copies. So yeah, that's pretty impressive bookshelf there as SFT. I'm proud of you, son.
Well,
You got
we'll
all
give
the
you
books
that as, we'll give you that as SFT.
Yeah, he's got all the books that he wrote. You know, where are the books that you wrote those books from? You know, where did you learn the stuff? I don't know. That's what I want to see. Anyway, okay. Did you look where it specifically said? Okay, Evotard and other people are going on about. What are they going on about?
Some etymology definitions. I don't know. Seems a bit pedantic to me.
Well, they're talking about vestigial. So vestigial, basically came from footprints. So basically, so a vestigial organ is something that we would expect to still have attachments, still have some effect on the organism, definitely on the development of the organism, but it just don't do what it did in previous versions. So, I don't know. Okay, do you know what an API is? What do you think Google? Okay, so dumbass, do you know what an API is? What do you think
Also,
Google's using?
if you're listening to this, don't call people names, please.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Andrew. I do that once in a while. Like I call them buttarded creationists and
I said John left.
Oh, we're done.
Hi, John.
I don't know. Well, he gets called away.
He did a me thing.
Yeah, he gets called away. Oh, there he is. He's back. How come how did he end up back in the chat or back in the thing? I didn't put him in. He just popped back up. He's in here.
Yeah, because my internet keeps going in and out.
Yeah, but how did you end up back? How did you end up back on the show? Because when you came back in, I didn't put you in. It just automatically put you in. Is that a new feature of StreamYard?
Yeah, I'm sure they intended that.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's because I'm upstairs at my mom's and my internet keeps going in and out.
Yeah.
But as far as how I got back in when my internet popped back up, I don't know.
Yep. Okay. Erica recognizes books.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, that's why I haven't been saying much because it's my turn to babysit my mom. So
yeah.
Oof.
Yep.
Oof.
I figured.
Speed. Look who's in the chat. I'm calling him out right now.
Who is that? Is that Lil Peepee? What does he got to say?
Oh, remember
John's
last
here,
night
and I just
when
debunked all of science.
Remember last night when I saw he was in Knox chat, and I was just like, yeah, get rid of him.
I did. I did the deed for you. It was so fun to toss John. I just enjoyed it so much. I'm sure he'll return the favor, which is fair.
Maybe John can come in and back up some of SFT's stuff.
Who? John?
Well, of course.
Sorry, Maddox.
Yeah, Maddox.
Maddox.
Of course, he could come in and back up FST or SFT stuff because Maddox is just as stupid as SFT is.
Comes a lunch lady with her patented word salad.
I wish Erica could come in and give her thoughts on this, but I feel like she's busy.
Yeah, what are you doing, Erica? Why can't you come see us? Award-winning word salad. Anyway, okay. Let's see. What else did I want to mention? Danny has a talk coming up with a physicalist on the mind, a guy named Timothy Schroeder, who is not on my radar. Questions concerning philosophy of the mind. highlighting how a view of the mind influences who or what, and that is going to be on March 19th. It seems like a long time away. I'm not sure if I'm going to be alive by then. I can never count on it.
I think Leo is also having another episode of Dr. Eigenstate explains tonight.
Why don't you put that in the
probably
chat?
mispronounced that. Sorry, Leo.
So here, putting in the chat Danny's upcoming talk, which should be very interesting. And also, I'm hoping that Danny and I will do round 2 of that little philosophical debate where we do a one-on-one with Scott watching us to keep us sane, if Scott wants to do that. And try to go further with the little drawings we were making about robots bumping into trees, which is some pretty serious philosophy shit, man. When you got robots bumping into trees and switching name tags, shit gets deep. So, but somehow I am missing where he's going with that. I'm hoping he can bring me to the next step in my enlightenment. Right, Danny?
Yeah, don't keep him too long. So that
is Danny in the chat?
He was earlier, but I just posted his thing. So, and if Leo, if you got something, please plug it, because we never know when you're going to pull an Eigenstate on us. What else? So nothing happened last night. I don't think anybody had any streams. I went to a local philosophy meetup with a philosophy group that I've been meeting with for 5 years on Zoom. And we discussed something Kafai would love, the perennial philosophy by Aldous Huxley. And we had some views of what that is exactly. And a perennial philosophy is kind of the idea that there is a there's a fork here, and you have to watch for it. Okay, the idea that there is a ground of all being that every religion refers to as God in some way, but every religion has a different, adds a different flavor to it, has a different interpretation of it. From Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, everything. And the fork is that, okay, that is what underlies all religion, that idea of the ground of being. That doesn't necessarily say that there is an entity or an ontological reality to this ground of being. Okay, but some people, and Aldous Huxley seems to be kind of leaning toward there being some mystical, super spiritual ground of all being. And whereas naturalists would say that is the universe, like Einstein, or somebody like that would just say, or Carl Sagan would say that the cosmos is this ground of being. And the Buddhists would say that you are enlightened or you are saved. They never use that word, but it's the same thing. If you understand that you are completely a part of and only in that ground of being, you are just like if you were looking at a patch of dirt and you came across and you drew a little circle around it and you said, okay, this is me, there would be no reason to draw that circle. And that's kind of what the Buddhists are saying, that there's no reason to believe that you are something that you can pick out in the world and be all emo about. Basically, you need to lose your attachment and realize that we're all part of this ground of being. So anyway, but it was a very interesting discussion, and some really brilliant people from Minneapolis were attending, including you ever heard of Baha'i, the religion? Baha'i? Anyone?
yes, I have. It's some sort of Muslim
Who's
and
that?
Buddhism cross.
Yeah,
Is it Rusty?
and I don't really know what they believe. Essential worth of all religion. So Baha'i would be very similar to this perennial philosophy and stuff. So you get some background noise. Who's doing it? Who's doing background?
I think that's John Peterson's background.
I muted you, John. Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
1 minute, sir.
Midnight, sir. What's up?
Nothing much. I figured I'd come in.
We're trying to figure out where to go next.
Um. Well, other than for some reason, StreamYard always messes with the avatars. I know that's John Peterson, but his avatar is missing. But I don't know. Where should we go next? Should we end early or should we do another shit show?
We can do whatever we want. End early. I said no weenie, so
Oh well.
John Peterson duplicated.
he's in here twice, and I don't know what I don't know what that means for us. I don't know how bad that's going to be, but we'll see if the other one drops out. Hi, John. Anyway, sounded like you had some personal stuff going on in the background, so I muted you. Stephanie Trenton, most mathematicians are philosophers. Pure mathematics is very philosophical. I would disagree with that. But anyway, I like rendering everything in terms of mathematics.
I mean, there is an argument to be made that the universe is mathematical. You know what I mean? Mathematical in nature. You know, there are some. It's weird, right? You know, there are some things which makes you question whether mathematics is inherent to the universe, such as, you know, the golden ratio or pi. You know what I mean?
So, agnostic pagan mom says she's not a weenie. We know that, but she says sometimes she wishes she had one. No, you don't.
Wow, that's fucking rude.
Be careful what you wish for.
I was talking about the universe being mathematical, and I completely get ignored.
Go ahead now. Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, no, I'm just saying, right?
I'm just trying to pay attention to chat.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, right? People, you know, there are some people who think that the universe is purely mathematical, but there is an argument to be made for that, because a lot of what you can model on a computer exists, you know, in the world, obviously. Like,
well, you can model it all. I mean, all of it, everything. It's with geometry, with some geometry, or with.
Well, yeah, but let's see, what was there were certain things that, you know, that we can't model with mathematics. Oh well, I guess emotions is one of them. It's merely an abstract convention of the human mind, which is utilized as a means of quantifying reality in an understandable and communicative manner. Well, there are people who disagree with you.
Totally disagree.
It may or may not be true, Leo.
Totally disagree with that, Leo. Sorry.
I mean, don't forget, Galileo Galilei said math is the language of the universe.
I know.
Also, Leo, there was actually an interesting thing I wanted to talk to you about, because because the new somebody who's I'm talking and I'm kind of hearing little static or little something. I don't know.
A little typing.
Maybe it's just me, but I recently came across a couple of interesting articles about loop quantum gravity, and how in the middle of, and how the whole, what they used to believe about the singularity being in a black hole actually isn't really true, and how black holes may actually just be, doors to other universes or other parts of the universe.
Yeah, it's really tempting to think that all of the universe pours into a black hole and it pours out as a big bang, a big expansion.
I mean, I still need to look at the actual paper, but the article I've read, does a pretty good job of explaining why that's the case. Why that could be the case.
Can I read something for you guys?
No,
yes.
Go ahead.
This is from PhD theoretical astrophysicist Ethan Siegel. I cite him a lot. He's a very, very skilled science communicator. And I will link the article The article is entitled, "No, the universe is probably not mathematical in nature," and this snippet from his article is really important. Quote, "This was a revolutionary moment in the history of science. Mathematics was not at the root of the physical laws governing nature. It was a tool that described how the physical laws of nature manifested themselves. The key advance that happened is that science needed to be based in observables and measurables, and that any theory needed to confront itself with those notions. Without it, progress would be impossible. Mathematics is not an inherent part of the universe. Mathematics is an abstract convention of the human mind that is utilized as a means of quantifying reality in a descriptive and communicatory manner. That's it. 2 + 2 = 4 isn't out there in reality. It's a way that we quantify the things that we observe in reality and how they can relate to each other, which is why there are patterns inherent in the mathematical structures that we.
Leo, do you understand what poetry is?
What poetry is?
Yeah, being poetic.
I can't really answer that question because, to me, what poetry is subjective, and I don't really.
Yeah, right. That's the point I was making. Okay, I'm not saying that mathematics is exactly inherent to the universe. I'm saying there are people who think that, and once you study a little math and you look at the universe, you think to yourself, "Good fucking God, this is beautiful as fuck." You know what I mean?
In some senses, yes, but I don't believe that mathematics alone describes the universe. Mathematics needs to be tied with a way of describing systems, and we call this physics. Physics really fundamentally is just applied mathematics. That's
Leo, I love you, but holy shit, sometimes. Moving on.
Remember, I'm a naturalist, so the idea that I'm not saying that it's not intriguing how we are capable of accurately quantifying our reality. The point that I'm making is the system that we've developed for doing so is a convention of the human mind. It's not something that exists in reality itself.
Okay, so I wanna ask you something. Like where if it's something of the human mind, there are sometimes where somebody's working on a problem and the answer just comes to them. You know what I mean? They have no idea where the fuck it came from.
Are you asking me why that happens?
Yes.
Because the mind is an extraordinary thing. That can make predictions, that can engage in things like induction and deduction.
Okay, well, that's true, but the question is that it comes from the mind, true, but you gotta wonder where the fuck does the mind even get it in the first place?
Pattern recognition.
Yeah. Okay, well then if it's pattern recognition, shouldn't that thing already be there?
Well, it is. It's in the. I mean, that's how do you think Einstein developed special and general relativity?
Well, yeah, no, I know. He used
patterns in certain descriptions.
Right, but the question
quantify that.
Yeah, but the question I'm trying to make is that there's pattern recognition, but there has to be something in the pattern that you recognize in order to be found. No?
Yeah, the pattern is the thing that is being recognized.
Yeah, so one can make the argument that math or numbers seem to be at the heart of reality.
Well, one could make that argument, but they'd be hard pressed to demonstrate it. The reason
the Fibonacci
in math is
the Fibonacci sequence
inherent in nature. It's because those are inherent to the system that we utilize to describe nature. Humans can develop systems, abstract systems that have patterns in here. There's patterns in the English language. There's patterns in most languages, but languages are not inherent to reality. They're tools that humans use for describing and talking about the reality that we exist within.
Leo, you want me to demonstrate it?
Demonstrate what?
Do you have any fruit around? Do you have any oranges or grapes or anything handy?
Nope.
Do you have any dice or anything where you can get? Just go get 4 things. Get me. Okay.
Can I say something real quick? Okay, what it is like what Leo just said. Like, okay, so we develop, languages, and mathematics is basically another language to describe what we see around us. And what it is like there's no innate two-ness in the universe. There's no innate
The hell there ain't.
fiveness in the
Yeah.
No, there isn't.
Multiplication
So if
is
humans
not.
didn't, so if
Multiplication.
humans didn't, wait a minute. So if humans didn't exist, another intelligent species of being could look at something and say that's 5, that's 2. No, they would say it was something else.
Well, they'd use a different symbol for it, but they're still looking at 2 rocks. I mean, are you denying that you can find 2 rocks or 4 rocks, and 4 rocks are more than 2 rocks? I mean,
No. What I'm saying is that the only reason mathematics exists is because humans developed it as a language to describe what they see around them.
Well, wait,
Exactly.
hold on.
Species.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's the point. That's the point I'm making. There's a reason why it's called the universal language, because if there are, intelligent species out there, they would most likely communicate with mathematics.
That's a large assumption, because mathematics would be the most utilitarian way to communicate with some other intelligent extraterrestrial race. But the assumptions that are made is that they would understand our system. If we assume that this extraterrestrial race was significantly more advanced than us, their mathematical systems are probably significantly more advanced. They would recognize
right.
And we would probably not understand a majority
hold
of
on.
the operations that they utilize.
Right, hold on. But Leo, they would be more advanced, yes, but they would still have a primitive system to communicate with, pardon my French, lower life forms. So they can still communicate.
But we can't communicate with bees, despite the fact that bees do basic arithmetic. But we can't communicate with bees utilizing arithmetic, because they don't have that. That's more they just don't have the intellectual capacity to understand the intent.
Well, I'm assuming I'm assuming humanoid life forms who are still more advanced than us. Like, for example, you could say the Cardassians are more advanced than us, but we're still able to go into space in Star Trek.
Yeah,
Can I get a word in here?
Yes, go ahead.
You'll notice the name of this article. No, the universe is not purely mathematical in nature.
Yeah, that's what I said.
The adjective purely suddenly implies some kind of ontological something. We don't even know what the hell math is exactly, let alone saying that it's purely mathematical. When I say the universe is mathematical in nature, what I mean is that everything seems to have the ability, everything seems to have homology with mathematical models, linear algebra, Cartesian spaces, all of that stuff.
Yeah, because we designed
it for a reason, and we didn't get it. We didn't invent it. Humans didn't sit around and say, "Oh, I'm going to think up this new kind of thing called counting." We got it because we had 4 rocks, and we needed to divide them in 2 piles.
Well, I mean, Speed, are you saying that? I think I understand you. And I think I agree now that, okay, so whether we had developed mathematics or not, pi would still be pi.
Yes, that was my point before, John. Thank you.
Yeah, there's something about circles that generate that number if you basically apply a number system to it. But I mean, there's something about the universe. We got mathematics from the universe, and we've taken it maybe outside of that, but I'm not even sure if we've gotten outside of what is in the cosmos as far as mathematics goes.
Can I ask a quick question? Is English inherent to the universe?
I mean, when you think about it, yes, because think about it. Okay, where I've often wondered about this. Where do new words come from? From the mind, right? Like the idea for the new word has to come from somewhere.
We made noise.
So you're suggesting that we randomly made up mathematics, that linear algebra has no connection with the universe at all. We just made it up.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay,
what I'm getting at is that math is not but a map for reality. We can look at a map of the United States, and it can tell you where roads are. It can tell you mountain ranges. It's an objective description of the land, the territory that we call the United States. But maps aren't an inherent thing in reality. They're tools developed by humans for describing aspects of reality.
And you're
Maps
mistaking
are
the
not
map
just like
for the
English.
terrain.
English, we use English to describe trees. I can say that's a tree. That's objective. That is a tree. But because I used English to describe this thing in reality, doesn't mean that the description itself is inherent to reality. It's not. Reality
It is because you're
does
using it, Leo. It
reality,
is because
that
you're
doesn't
using
make
it.
inherent to reality. Maps of the United States are not inherent to reality. The United States
Leo.
is, but the
Pause.
map of it, we
You made your
created
point.
the
You
map
made your point
regardless
15
of its
times.
objectivity.
Okay, you made your point 5 times. Okay, you are mistaking the map for the terrain, not me.
No, I'm
and
not.
you don't realize you're doing it. Okay, when it comes to mathematics, the source of mathematics was the universe, not human beings. Okay, whatever squeaky noises we make or symbols we use to represent it, that would be the map.
Wait,
That would be the
hold
map.
on. Hold on, Leo, you just literally contradicted yourself, and I just realized.
No,
You
I
said, no, hold on, let me explain what you did. You said bees could do basic arithmetic. How in the fuck could bees do basic arithmetic if mathematics was inherent in the universe?
Because
How?
they invented it as a means of quantifying things.
I'm done.
That's what mathematics is. Wait, do you think animals can't invent things? You think certain animals can't have certain mental conventions just because they're not humans?
We're talking about a monkey right now with Getsick Gibbon that basically has like a rudimentary language. They're old world monkeys. It's called them Campbell's monkeys, but they have another name that starts with V, but I can't remember it. What are they? V monkeys, V old world monkeys. Anyway, they have different utterances for eagles and snakes, and they have apparently they recognize relatives, and they can talk about different individuals. They have different sounds for them, which is kind of cool. And I got that from the 4th chimpanzee, Scott, or 3rd chimpanzee.
By the way, Stephanie, math is not a form of logic. Math and logic are distinct but very closely related. I would argue neither is a form of the other. They're both distinct yet very closely related. Math quantifies, logic qualifies. And both are abstract descriptive conventions of the human mind. If humans didn't exist, there would be no such thing as mathematics or logic. What they describe would still exist, and it would still operate the same ways that we could describe it. But the descriptions of it, like math and logic, because that's what they are, descriptions of reality would not exist, but reality still would.
Yeah, all you've said is that when reality encounters this certain blob of goo, it makes a squeaky noise, and you're talking about the squeaky noises, and you're saying the squeaky noises are not reality. I agree with you there. Okay, but the squeaky noises are just something a little blob of goo came up with, and I'm talking about the structure of the universe, which is mathematical.
I would argue that the squeaky sounds are still reality because they're sounding, whatever, semantics. But you just said math wouldn't exist if humans didn't exist. Okay, fine, I will kind of accept that. But he also just said that that bees invented arithmetic.
I didn't say that
so a form
arithmetic. That's not what I said.
Okay, well,
I said is that bees invented a form that they utilize for quantifying aspects of reality in a very, very, very basic manner. If we could,
they invented a form.
Subtraction would probably be drastically different from
They
us.
invented a form of arithmetic. Fine, correct myself, but it's still a form of mathematics, which another creature created.
Yeah, I mean, numerous creatures have.
Yeah, but you said mathematics wouldn't exist if people were in here.
Yeah, but arithmetic and math are not actually the same thing. Mathematics is built off of arithmetic.
Okay, moving on.
Just because other species of creatures can develop mental conventions for understanding whatever degree of understanding they have, because obviously bees have a significantly lower level of cognitive faculty than we do, that they're still just mental conventions that some species developed for understanding its place in the reality that it exists. You guys seem to be saying that because I'm saying math is invented, therefore the structure of reality is invented. I'm not. What I'm saying is that math is like a map. It can describe something objectively, but it's still created by a human. The thing that it describes will always be the way that it is. So if that description were independent of the mind, it would always describe it that way, potentially. But the description is not inherent to reality. Reality is inherent to reality.
I honestly wish
reality in certain ways.
I honestly wish we did meet a fucking alien species so we could be like, hey, you know what, guys, we use math. What do you use? Oh, we use it too. Like, how, at what level are you? 3rd grade. Wow, come back to us in 100 years or 1,000, a million years. Okay. I agree with that they would be more advanced than us, but they would still be able to use like a form of mathematics to speak to us. You know what I mean?
It'd be no different than saying that we could both, us and some other extraterrestrial species, could look at a star and know that it's a star, but the ways that we go about qualifying or quantifying what that thing is, those conventions are going to be different, despite the fact that they apply to and describe in an objective manner the same object.
Yeah, and I think that was
objective. So
yeah, I think
objective.
Yeah, I think that was Speed's point when he said, 4 rocks or 4 rocks, but the symbol that they would use to represent it are different. That's what Speed was saying before.
Okay, if you truly understand mathematics, and you understand group theory and linear algebra and geometries and all of that,
fairly
and
well,
calculus, you will see it everywhere in the universe. It's the low-hanging fruit in the universe. The whole damn
pattern-seeking mind.
I mean, I haven't done a lot of linear algebra and all that, and I see it. But because I've done a lot of video game programming, you know what I mean. And I've created my own world, so I can kind of look at something and see the way linear algebra applies. Like using various matrices and linear transformations. Changing from local to yeah, I haven't really looked at the universe the same after practicing with vectors and matrices and all that cool shit.
That's also something that humans made too.
That's not true.
Hey guys, I gotta run. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Thanks for having me, Speed.
Bye.
Much love to your mother. But yeah, Icarus, that's not true. I'm definitely.
Don was disturbingly quiet today.
Yeah. What's not true, Leo?
What Icarus said, that I'm listening to the words but not like the substance of what's being talked about, it's just false. I understand very well what they're talking about. I've had this discussion.
Are you listening to it? Okay, so what you need to know about me is I don't really give a fuck about the little blobs of goo on a dust particle in the cosmos. I like to talk about the cosmos. Okay, when I talk about mathematics as being the cosmos, or the cosmos being mathematical, I'm not talking about what some little blob of goo thinks, what some fucking monkey who crawled out of the bushes just a few 10,000 years ago. So anyway, I tend to slant it toward, let's look at the structure of the universe from outside as well as best we can, being the little blobs of goo. Right.
Yeah, you put yourself on the outside of looking at, right? You imagine yourself.
What the little blobs of goo think. What do we give a shit what blobs of goo call math?
Well, that's
how
we understand reality. I mean, we
when you talk about physically, you're not talking about what humans perceive as physics. You're talking about physics.
Well, physics is, again, an abstract descriptive convention of the human mind. It's not something inherent to reality.
Why do you want to talk about that? Why would you want to talk about physics itself?
Because that's what physics itself is just it's literally a tool. It's like a wrench.
Okay, so what is the thing that what is the thing that we're solving with the tool?
The same thing that you can do with a wrench. So you can spin a bolt with a wrench. It's a tool that helps you do something. That's what physics is. They're tools.
I swear to God,
So what do you call the thing we're talking about?
Okay.
Reality.
Yeah, I just want to say something really quick. Maybe I'm wrong, but it sounds like postmodernism.
I don't actually know what
You're kind of
postmodern is.
sliding there, yeah. But anyway, moving
To know
on.
the difference.
Is anything else going on out there in the world that we should know about?
I don't know, but Danny hasn't really responded to my question.
Is Danny here?
No, not in the stream or the chat. Talking about Discord.
Oh, ask him when he's going to talk to me about part 2 of that robots banging their heads on trees.
I mean, you just said you
You spoke his name and he appeared.
what in the chat?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
but you just said no weenies allowed, so I don't think I don't think he's ever going to talk to you about that.
Wait, hold on. Is Danny here talking about me or Speed? Because I am
I'm
not
not sure who he's talking about as an anti-realist.
I'm a scientific realist. So
He's talking to you, saying, "I think he's describing an anti-realist view."
yeah, but I don't know if he's
the
saying
comment there,
I'm describing
Leophilia.
it, or if he's telling me that Speed is
No,
describing
no, hold on. I can explain this. When I said it sounds like postmodernism, Danny is telling you that that's what that's what I think you're doing. There we
Okay,
go.
how about
Clear it
let
up.
Danny tell us who he's referring to when he says that they're describing an anti-realist.
Yeah,
view.
We are
Danny-
not letting him in here.
I
What did
didn't
you
say
mean?
that he had to come in here. He can
Oh,
tell
no, we
us.
can't have weenies in here.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just I'm telling you like based on context what he means. You know what I mean? But
I don't
fine.
know who he's talking about. He's saying that one of us in here is describing an anti-realist view, and I don't know. No, scientific
God.
instrumentalism is not my view. I'm a scientific realist, not an
Did
instrumentalist.
you see what happened here? We asked Danny what something means.
Well,
Not
that's
the way
because
around.
that's because for some fucking reason we think Danny is actually good at philosophy.
Well, I think he is actually quite adept at philosophy. Very, very much more so than a lot of other people I interact
Oh,
with.
well, okay, that you interact with. Trust me, I know those who are a lot better.
Well, I didn't say that there weren't people or imply that there weren't people better at philosophy than Danny. I'm sure Danny would concede that there are a lot of people better at
set up a
philosophy
debate.
than him, but I
Let's
think
set
that
up a
Danny is
debate
very
between
adept.
Danny and Nicola.
Yeah, that's never gonna happen.
Did I what, Danny?
Let me look at the chat.
Sorry, did you, true Leo? What
You asked
did
me
Leo
what I
say?
said. I like about what you know about philosophy, that I think you're really adept at it, but I think that you would also be willing to grant that there are people that probably understand it better than you. Just like I'm really adept at physics, there are a lot of people out there that understand it way better than I probably ever will.
Look up instrumentalism and see if that's your
I know
view.
what that is. I'm not a scientific instrumentalist. I'm a scientific realist. So an instrumentalist would say something like that when we say that gravity is curvature in the geometry of space-time, the whole space-time and the geometry in it is just sort of a convention that we utilize that represents some physical thing, that there isn't really a real thing that's called space-time that actually has some sort of geometry. That's just a conventional way of representing reality, and we can describe it. Whereas a realist would say that space-time actually is a physically real thing and it actually has a physical geometry. I'm a
That's
realist.
kind of instrumentalism.
I'm not an instrumentalist. I'm a realist. Space-time is like an actual
I
real
think you
physical
just-
thing.
I mean,
The geometry of it is an actual real physical thing.
I think you're trying to say something. I think we probably both agree at some deep level, but we're trying to say something about reality in a very different way.
I would
But I-
argue that things like physics and math are instruments that are utilized for describing reality, but what they tell us about reality is actually real. It's actually there. That's actually what's happening. There are instruments that help us describe reality. The descriptions that we get utilizing those instruments are not themselves instruments. But yeah, Danny, I would be open for a discussion on instrumentalism because you are right. It is a little bit more nuanced than that.
So tell me what the thing we're talking about is like.
What do you mean?
Okay, how would you tell me what the thing we're talking about is like? How
Like, you
does
mean like
it
a star?
behave? How does the
Like,
thing behave? How
so
does
you mean like-
how does space-time behave? How would you hash that out? If we have
Well,
a bunch
it
of particles and they're somewhere at some time, and do you believe there's a reality to that, or do you believe it's all pudding or homogeneous.
No, there's a reality to that. I am a scientific realist. Particles are
Right.
real things.
That's where we agree.
Some of the things that we're describing about reality, like gravity being curvature in the geometry of space-time. Space-time is a real thing. It's not just a convention. We can describe space-time using conventions, but space-time itself is not a convention. Whereas a scientific instrumentalist would say that these things are just that math. I don't know if some instrumentalists might say that math is an instrument. I say that, but I would say that what we describe with math is not itself an instrument, that is a real thing that we then utilize an instrument to describe.
I'm saying that the only way that we get that description is because that is the reality of it.
Well, of course, yeah.
I'm reversing.
Reality is objective, and that's why math is objective, because it's describing an objective thing. Just like a map of the United States is objective. Like where the state that I live in, Iowa, is on a map of the United States, that's objectively where Iowa is. But the map is still a thing, a tool, an instrument, if you will, invented and utilized by humans for describing something.
Otangelo said something intelligent.
CRISPR actually said, this is just beautiful. Mathematics describes, it doesn't enforce. Beautifully stated. Beautifully stated. I wish a lot more theists understood that. Mathematics doesn't tell reality what to do. It describes what we see reality doing. Same with physics, because physics is really just applied mathematics.
You see this black box thing that Danny said, and then the next thing he says, did you read it? Yeah.
I'm trying to. I'd have to look up black box. I'm probably not understanding it the way that Danny is using it.
An unknown function, basically. We give it an input, we get an output. It's kind of what we were talking about.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah.
It's just an unknown function. Okay.
But then we do. I don't personally, but we do know how the universe works on some level, just not completely, right?
Objectively, we know how the universe works. Like objectively, say quantum electrodynamics is an objective and thorough description of electromagnetism as a fundamental interaction. Like it's simple as that.
Yeah, except for some fucking reason we can't.
How it is.
Yeah, except for some fucking reason we can't reconcile special, general, and quantum mechanics. You know what I mean? There's some piece missing now.
You want to know what
obviously, what?
I'm sorry. Finish what you were saying. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I just now obviously loop quantum gravity is one of the theories proposed. Also, string theory or M theory or super whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? Now, I don't know. Like personally, I do find string theory interesting, because when you think about it, it makes it. Bear with me. It makes sense that the particles we have, would just be strings vibrating at different frequencies, and this is why music also exists. Now, obviously, there's no way to prove, there's no way to show that yet. And as CRISPR, always said, string theory is not even wrong. I don't know who wrote the book, but it's not even wrong. I don't know enough about loop quantum gravity, but it does look interesting, especially because it may have said that, the whole information paradox of a. Okay, Speed is showing off while I'm talking.
No, I'm just showing Brainbug something.
Oh, I got you.
It's a microscope.
How much did that cost you? I want it.
$40. It hooks up to your phone, and you can, detach it.
Does it hook up like physically with a wire, or does it do it through an app?
Wi-Fi.
Oh, that's pretty bad.
It's USB. It's got a USB battery, so it's portable.
Nice. What's the zoom on it? 100.
Can you link me?
600.
It says 3 to 1,000, but I'm really doubting that. But it's hard to focus. It is not as easy to use. I mean, you can put it down on like your skin and get it to focus pretty well.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Looking at plants.
Can you link me that?
Lick you?
I want to
link it.
No, we don't have that kind of relationship.
But I did want to say something that Midnight brought up that I think is Yeah, that I think is really, really important. And I think, in my opinion, I think it lends credence to the idea that mathematics is just a convention. It's just an instrument developed by humans. Is that if you're trying to draw a map of some place, but there's an area where nobody's ever been, nobody knows what's going on there, there is a sort of a nature about that area, a way that it is, a way that it works. But we don't know it because we've never seen it. We can't put it in the map and describe it.
And
It's
and to
like quantum gravity. The reason that we don't have a physical description isn't because reality doesn't work that way. Reality, there's a quantum gravity in reality. It's just that our convention, our instrument, mathematics, hasn't seen it yet to be capable of describing it. And I would argue that if mathematics really does sort of fall out of reality in an objective manner, or rather in a realist manner, that mathematics is a real thing in reality, and separate from humans, then our quest for quantum gravity should not be as hard as it's been thus far.
Well, no, and hold on. Allow me to find this, the synthesis between the two ideas. You know what I mean? Because because I don't know all the mathematics of string theory, obviously, but from what I've read, it is fucking complicated. And it's an approximation of an approximation of an approximation. Right? Okay. Now, as Speed said, if you look at a circle, that generates pi. If you look at the Fibonacci sequence in flowers, that generates it. Now, here's the thing. In order to find the synthesis here, I would say that that mathematics is inherent in the universe. However, let me add a caveat here. We haven't found the actual values. We didn't find the actual mathematics which describes reality. Does that make sense?
Yeah, to me, yes, it does. What I would say is that what we call values are not things that actually exist in reality. It's a convention that humans developed for quantifying reality. Like, so we often talk about the Planck's constant, 6.626 times 10 to the negative 34th joules seconds, I believe.
Right, but if that number, if that number was different, if that number was, if that number was different, the universe would not, the particles would either expand, expand or contract, whatever the fuck. Like, there's not to go to the theist route, the fine tuning route, but that seems an oddly specific number for those particles to be how they are.
The point that I was trying to get at is that there isn't actually a Planck's constant in reality. There isn't a number in reality. There's just reality, and what we have done is we've
but that's
what a joule is, what a second is.
I know.
Utilizing those, we quantify this,
Leo,
in terms of numbers and digits.
Yeah, Leo,
but don't exist in reality.
No, hold on.
I have a short announcement. Erica's going to be live at 4, and on the screen I have empirical evidence that Maddox does have a sense of humor.
Hold on. Hold on. Put it back, please. I want to read John's comment.
Oh, sense of humor.
Brother Otangelo, I still hear Speed. The devil has reactivated my mute button. If we both pray, God will restore it to its glory. All for Jesus, brother. Glory to God. Now, put Otangelo's comment up.
Otangelo says,
they are blind. They are blinded in special, Leo. Incredible. The amount of nonsense coming from this guy.
He hasn't actually countered anything I've said.
No.
Hold on. By Otangelo's own admission, he doesn't know shit about math. So why is he inserting himself in a discussion on a topic that, by his own admission, he's not well versed in at all? And those are his words. He's told me he's not well versed in mathematics at all.
Okay.
So
just
why
look at what he said, Leo.
About math? It makes no sense.
Would anybody who knew what they were talking about say what he just said?
No. I will answer.
To do is to tell me what a differentiable function is.
Yeah, a differential equation maybe, that's another.
Hold on, because the differentiable function is a real thing. I want specifically Otangelo, to tell me what it is.
Yeah, but if he knew anything about physics, would he have made that statement? It just seems like
well, yes and no. I mean, the statement there is technically inaccurate It
Oh,
just
some
depends on
functions-
what part of physics you're describing.
And some functions are not differentiable.
Well, yeah, but functions that are non-differentiable.
Or
So
spooky
he
thing.
said defined over the set of real or complex numbers. That's
Oh, wait,
not
wait,
really
wait. I just.
what differentiability means in functions. A differentiable function is a function that which can be differentiated.
Yeah.
It makes sense to say
Continuous
there
function.
is a rate of change on that function, or even a rate of change of change.
Yeah.
In simplistic terms, a differentiable function is a function that which you can reasonably take the derivative of.
Leo, yeah, that's actually a long-winded explanation of what a differential function is, because I needed to be reminded. But one thing, one thing that I wanted to say, right? Would you agree that the distance between particles exists?
Distance between particles?
Like it's like in an atom, right? You know, like you know, in an atom, you have the nucleus, and then then you have the electrons swirling around. Okay, now correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the Planck's constant describing the distance between the nucleus and the electrons?
I don't believe so. I don't really know what what Planck's constant actually really tells us, if anything meaningful.
Okay, then you know what? That's fine. I need to read the book, The Quantum Universe, again. I gotta find it. But all right, you know what? Never mind. Good night, everybody. Be sure to watch Giz the Giveaway at 4.
All right.
Midnight? Are you still here? You better not run away yet. Did you
No.
get the link? Did you get the link?
Yeah, I
for the
did.
Okay.
I did get the link, but let me say something. Okay, just because that I want to interact with you, Danny, doesn't mean I'm running away. Sometimes people don't want to waste time. Okay, go ahead.
Anyway,
So I did
there's
want
like-
to say really quick on Planck's constant. It's just a constant that helps us, well, quantify quanta. So it tells us part of what it does is it tells us that energy is emitted, transmitted, absorbed in discrete quanta of energy, or little packets.
Right. And I've read, and I've read. Maybe I need to read it again, but I read that if that number was any higher or any lower, we'd be living in a whole different universe.
Anyway, guys, we're going to end soon. So, does anyone have anything they want to say to wrap it up? Rachel Empiricist, you've been pretty damn quiet. So
No, hold on. Actually, I just want to say something. Like, I think this is the most I've talked in all the streams I've been in.
it is. It is. And that's good. Glad you started talking. But anyway, Andrew, so we
Well, don't see. You know what it is? John isn't here to interrupt me.
so
I
Andrew,
love you, John.
Are we gonna go further?
I didn't really have anything else to say, so if you want to wrap it up, and I haven't. Oh, go ahead.
At a later time, are we going to look more into what? Yeah, I want to look more into this one thing. I've always wanted to take just one SFT exchange and analyze his whole shtick, because he has this well-defined preachy program script that he reads, and I like looking into how he does it. And also, if there is any content, if he said anything about science or actually drilled into anything, I really want to know. I want to find it. So
can I
stop following me around? I'm not a date. Sorry.
I want to redefine differentiable function a little bit, just because I think it'll be a better definition. A function of some variable, like a real variable, is differential or differentiable if at every point in its domain its derivative exists. So it's a function what's derivative exists at every point in its domain,
right.
Meaning that the tangent line that defines the derivative is non-vertical at every point on the function. And just as an extension of that, really quickly, this is where singularities come, or one way you can get singularities in mathematics, where a function essentially is just vertical, as if it asymptotically approaches infinity. Since the function is vertical, there isn't a tangent line defined along those points, so you can't differentiate that function, and it becomes non-differentiable at infinity, you would say, and thus is a singularity. That's one way we could define a singularity.
Well, yeah,
The other way is just where the function is just undefined, like
Yeah.
f of x equals 1 over x as x approaches 0.
Yeah, I have a quick question for you. How many levels of differentiation does x square have?
How many levels of differentiation?
Yeah, just think about this. I know I phrased it poorly, but think about it.
Well, you only
I
have
don't really
two.
know. Because when you talk about differentiating x squared, I just want to say 2x.
No, well, hold on. This is perfect. Okay, the first differentiation is 2x, the second 2, and the third 0.
Oh yeah.
So you're talking about higher order.
Yeah, higher order. I used the wrong word.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's just, first derivative, second derivative, third derivatives, fourth derivatives.
Yeah.
Go on and on and on. I mean,
yeah, like I said, I phrased it poorly, but yeah.
But boys and girls, we have to end so that we can get over to Erica's channel and watch her premiere. It's premiere. It's not live. So anyway.
Always a premiere with that girl. She needs to go live more.
She needs to do some wild ass hangouts, sort of thing.
Yeah, she needs to invite John and try to emasculate him again. Sorry, Maddox, not John Peterson. I'm sorry.
Do any of my more silent partners have anything to say? Hyena.
I do.
Not you. Not you.
You're correct. An awful untruth that Midnight just declared. Erica had a live broadcast just a day or two ago when she viewed one of her professors.
I said she needs to do more. I never said she doesn't do
Got
anything.
a couple of them scheduled this month. So.
Oh well, I don't pay attention to Erica. Sorry.
Okay, Leo, you did have something you wanted to say, but I hope it isn't going further into something that we're not going to be able to
responding to something that Otangelo said that's just not true. He said if laws can be different, it means that they are set up. Laws of physics vary throughout the universe. A new study suggests we've known for a long time that the laws of physics can vary. That doesn't mean they're set up. What that means is that how we describe a physical system, which is what the laws of physics are, the ways that we describe a system, depends on how the system is structured. It depends on the configuration of that system. So the laws of physics varying simply means that you can configure a physical system in different ways, and when you do that, it will operate operate in a different way, and thus has.
Don't say a word at midnight. Not a word.
Fine.
Okay.
I'm going to say something.
Not a word, Midnight.
One of the things that we see in gauge theory is that under at least local configurations of a physical system, the laws actually remain invariant, and that's what we call gauge invariance under local group transformations of those configurations, or more specifically, that the Lagrangian defining that physical system remains invariant under local transformations from the groups of those configurations. So I would invite Otangelo to just actually look more into the math of physics.
No, you can't. No, Leo, embrace the period. Did you find a period? Okay,
I don't know if everybody heard my last.
Andrew Grasso, you have a rent. If you mention some study, you'd better fucking link it, or I'm going to take your rent away.
Then he asks, why is there a universe at all? There isn't a why. The universe just exists, and that's all. It's a nomological fact. That question anthropomorphizes the universe and assumes that things like meaning and purpose, in the sense of more of like a subjective meaning or purpose, which are human conventions, somehow apply objectively to reality when they don't. The universe is a nomological fact. It exists. That's it.
I wanted to add to Leo's thing, but whatever. We can just go end.
Yeah, we're going to end. We're trying to end, so we're trying to nip it. We're not trying to go any further. But Otangelo, you had better link that paper. You're going to be in trouble. Oh, there it is. Okay, thank you.
Standing for Truth is refuting Gutsick Gibbons' cosmology nonsense. Is he going to bring
Truth
Dr.
never
Lyle on again?
Yeah.
No, he's just citing the same video, even though I asked Standing to ask Dr. Lyle if he'd have a discussion with me, and Dr. Lyle turned it down, saying he only debates academics, but probably would not debate somebody like Sean Carroll or Lawrence
Yeah,
Krauss.
because
Or
his
anybody
stuff's
like
been
that.
pretty much busted anyway. So
Yeah. Let's see. It's in 9 minutes. Could we end so I could talk to Leo for a minute?
Okay, we're ending. We're going to end. Everybody shut the hell up. So
Remember, folks, science may not have all the answers, but religion has none of them.
Okay. We're ending the broadcast. Goodbye, cruel world.